Today may have been an off day in terms of games, but for Tampa Bay and their fans, today was game on.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. Put the answers to trivia questions and put your comments and everything like that down here in the comments section. I read them all. I swear I read them all. I don't respond to them all. Some I kind of snicker at. But yeah, there you go. We don't have a sponsor at the top of the show. I was about to say that. We also don't have any answers to the trivia question yet. I think it's because I dropped the episodes too close to each other. So hopefully by tomorrow we're gonna have a couple answers for that. And tomorrow we got the All-Star game. It should be fun. My favorite part of the All-Star game remains when all the players line up. And I just love that when they all come out and introduce each other. And thankfully this year they're going to be actually wearing their uniforms. They're not going to be wearing this stupid American League and National League uniforms. The point is you want to see your player in the All-Star game. You want to see him wearing your team's uniform. Today was the Home Run Derby. I'm not going to say a lot about the Home Run Derby because I don't think there's a lot to break down. I never get excited leading up to the Home Run Derby, and yet I always have fun watching it. It's one of those things. It's like, there's certain shows that I don't like to use the term guilty pleasure because you should never feel guilt about having pleasure if it's something that doesn't hurt somebody. It's dumb, it's silly, it's cool. It's a fun thing during All-Star weekend. And I mean, it's a fun thing to watch in the background. Yeah, we'll never, ever have the situation when you had like Bonds and Sosa and McGuire and Rafael Palmeiro and all these people just beefed up to the yin yang, launching home runs in the home run derby. It'll never be like that again, but it's fun. I like that they had the thing where if you hit a ball 450 feet, you get an extra out. Cal Raleigh wound up being the first catcher to ever win the home run derby. Junior Caminero came in second. Brent Rooker, hit 17 home runs in one of the rounds, and O'Neill Cruz hit a couple of massive home runs. It was just fun. I mean, I don't really care who wins. It's just fun to watch players launching those home runs, and I like the clock. It's fun. It's silly. It's harmless. If you really get super into it, great. If you're like me, you're just something fun to have on and watch. That's great too. And the All-Star weekend or the All-Star week and the All-Stars festivities is just about that, fun. But there was a big piece of news today, and it is not insignificant. The news came out today, and it's reported in several sources. I'm reading right now from the Ryan Giacola article in the New York Post. But this is I'm just going to read from part of it there, that the Tampa Bay Rays looks like the sale is going to actually happen. There's a person named Patrick Zalupski, who is a Floridian, or is at least based in Florida, and based in Jacksonville, is expected to buy the Tampa Bay Rays for $1.7 billion as early as this season. It looks like the sale may come through before the postseason begins. And he, the new owner is working it out with the current ownerships, the Sternbergs, who have basically come to a standstill. Now, the Rays are in a bad situation right now. This is not the same situation as the A's. The A's situation is 100% they're doing. I do believe the Sternberg family wanted to get something done in Central Florida. I do. I know they were trying to get the sort of the city, the St. Petersburg mini city that they were going to build around a new ballpark. I knew they were trying to get that off the ground. Obviously, what happened to Tampa to the Trop in the hurricane, where the roof was ripped off the sucker, and the damage. Nobody knows the damage that was done to Tropicana Field, and if and when that'll ever be fixed. But I do believe that the Sternbergs wanted to keep the team in Central Florida. I don't think this is a John Fisher situation where they were looking for a way out and they basically sabotaged the team in Oakland. I think this is a different situation. But I also think that the relationship between the Sternberg and the city of St. Petersburg just soured when they backed out of their own deal. I'll never know all of the comings and goings. And I know a lot of Rays fans were eager for the Sternbergs to sell the team, and it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like that they're selling it to someone who they're not selling it to the Orlando group. And I had made a prediction a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago. I was making some predictions about the fate of certain teams. I predicted, I do think that the A's will eventually go to Las Vegas, even though I don't think they should. I think they will eventually. I just think it's going to take many more years than they're expecting. I thought the Orlando thing was going to be where they're going to land because the Orlando group looked like it was putting together investors, looked like they were putting together money, looked like they had their stuff together faster than anyone would to have it in Tampa. And the cryptic things that the commissioner Manfred was saying about committing to have baseball stay in Central Florida, he said it in a cryptic enough way that would include Orlando. And I kind of read the tea leaves and I said, well, I looks like Orlando is going to be where they're going to wind up. If they have the money, they have some sort of infrastructure in place for it and everything like that. It's tough to imagine that not coming through. If someone's not going to come through for Tampa Bay, but this news is coming in, and it looks like it's going to happen now. It looks like it's more than just speculative. And Patrick Zalupski will become the new owner of the Rays. And the reason why I think this is great for baseball, I am absolutely serious. I think it's great for baseball because it will be a conclusion, an answer for one of the two teams that are currently in limbo and are putting baseball in a rough spot right now. And solving the problem of these two teams could go a long way to preventing a work stoppage, but also could go a long way to really making a team that has had all sorts of issues competing in terms of payroll and everything like that, and could put them in a brand new light. Okay, let's hear from our good friends over at Supply House. Get supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from more than 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. I've made this point many times. It's worth making again. The Trop, it was originally called the Suncoast Dome, was built in the 1980s. It was built to lure a team to Central Florida. There was no team in Florida, and they built a stadium in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is part of the Tampa Bay region, to lure a franchise. And there were a lot of teams at that time in the mid 80s that needed a new stadium and wanted a new situation. This was before the big stadium renaissance of the 1990s. And Tampa Bay's job for a long time seemed to be the motive for teams looking to basically extort a city to build them a new ballpark. The Chicago White Sox were the first one, and they looked like they were heading to Tampa Bay, and suddenly they got a new stadium in Chicago. San Francisco is not far behind them. The expansion passed them by in 1993, and Minnesota, Texas, and Seattle all at one point or another threatened to move to Tampa Bay until each one of those teams got what they need in terms of a new deal. And eventually the Devil Rays were formed for the 1998 season. By the time the Devil Rays were formed, we had the stadium renaissance. Camden Yards showed us that having a downtown ballpark with an old-time feel was what fans wanted to see. And Camden Yards packed them in. People went to Oriole games even when the Orioles sucked because they wanted the Camden Yard experience. Next thing you know, Cleveland. Next thing you know, Denver. Next thing you know, what were some of the other ones that came or popping up around that? Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, new one in St. Louis. Some, Miller Park in Milwaukee, Comerica Park in Detroit. All these new ballparks had this old-timey feel and everything. And by the time the Rays or the Devil Rays started playing, it was already an obsolete stadium. And it was also far away from the hub of Tampa. And so for years and years, you saw an empty Tropicana field. Yes, even when they're putting a great product on the field. Tampa Bay's been since 2008, from 1998 to 2007, they didn't sniff contention, but they won the pennant in 2008. They got to within 3 wins of winning a World Series title. And next thing you know, they get to the postseason that in 2008. They get to the postseason in 2010, in 2011, in 2013. They start becoming a regular participant in the postseason, making it to the World Series in the COVID year and putting together probably their best team ever in 2021, who somehow lost to an inferior Boston team and are contending to this day. They've fallen out of a playoff spot, but they're always finding ways to contend, despite the fact that their attendance is rotten and their payroll is matches its rottenness. But the attendance is based upon the fact that the stadium's in the wrong place. It's a pain in the ass to get to St. Petersburg. They might as well put in St. Petersburg, Russia, which, by the way, to show you how weird the building of Tropicana Field was, when they built Tropicana Field, when it was called the Suncoast Dome, the city that we now call St. Petersburg in Russia was called Leningrad. And by the time the stadium had an occupant, the Soviet Union had fallen, and the city was rechristened St. Petersburg. The Soviet Union had not fallen when they first built the Trop. It was built at the wrong time. It was a great idea, and they had the wrong design, and they put it in the wrong place. I think from the start, the Rays didn't get the right shake. They didn't get the right situation. A stadium can mean so much to a team that looks dead in the water. And to prove that, even though it was from a different era, I'm currently sitting in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I mentioned that the Giants were this close to becoming the Tampa Bay Giants. They didn't. But the situation that they had in San Francisco was terrible. They built Candlestick Park in the worst place to put a stadium in San Francisco. It was awful. Why they didn't just expand Seal Stadium or do something like that, I'll never know, and neither will you. But they built Candlestick Park, which sucked. I went to many, many games at the Stick. It was terrible. And they had trouble drawing fans. Do you know why? Because it was a terrible place to see a baseball game. It was inconvenient to get to, and it was freezing. It was right on the bay. And so the act of going to a game was unpleasant. The act of going to a game at Tropicana Field, it's a pain in the neck to drive there and back and forth. So we're not going to see it. We're going to go watch the game. Eventually, the Giants got a new stadium, arguably the best in baseball. And they draw quite well, thank you very much. And they've drawn very well in years where they aren't contenders. It helped that for a bunch of the years they had Barry Bonds, and people wanted to go see him in the ballpark. It also helped that they won a bunch of championships. And even when they had down years in between those championship years, you still got to see Posey and Lincecum and Bumgarner and Sandoval and all your heroes from the teams that won. San Francisco looked like a market that could never have a fan base showing up in terms of attendance. They built the ballpark at the correct spot in China Basin in a great ballpark. And now it's looked upon as a great success. Let's think about Tampa for a second. One of the things that this new ownership has said that they want to do is to have the team play in Tampa and not at Steinbrenner Field. They want to build an honest-to-goodness stadium in Tampa. Tampa is a terrific city with, trolleys and people walking around and foot traffic and everything. And the fans have embraced the Tampa Bay Lightning, who play in downtown Tampa. And they've, of course, embraced the Buccaneers. Now, it's helped that both the Lightning and the Buccaneers have won championships recently, but they've shown that they show up. Fans are there. And do you know what's also there? Decent television ratings. The Rays have a following. The Rays have fans. There's a lot of snarky comments about Rays saying, oh, there are no fans there. Who gives a crap about Rays fans? Look, if you are showing up to the Trop at all, you're a terrific fan. I have nothing but sympathy for Rays fans because of the crap they get. But now's your time to show off. Now's your time to show that you are also a city by the bay. And you should emulate the city by the bay here in the Bay Area, in your Bay Area. You put a baseball team with a roof in downtown Tampa with that population, that fan base that follows the team on all sorts of media outlets, and put a good product on the field that the new ownership will want to do. And you don't build like a 60,000 seat stadium, you build a 35, 40,000 seat stadium. I think they'll draw well. I think they will draw well. I think Tampa Bay fans are drooling to have this happen. I think Tampa Bay fans are crawling at the walls to have this happen. And I think it will be a success. I think they have a fan base that wants to embrace the team, that does follow the team, will go to the stadium where it belongs, and have it be a situation like, let's take another team, San Diego. San Diego had a trouble drawing when they were playing in what was Jack Murphy Stadium, later was called Qualcomm, that was way out in the sticks of San Diego, way out there. They built a downtown ballpark, Petco Park, absolutely one of the most beautiful parks in baseball, and then invested in the team. They did those two things. They made sure the ballpark was great, and now they're investing to make sure that the fans can embrace the team as their own and know some of the stars are going to be there. The place is packed. No one talked about San Diego being a place where the stadium is packed. Now it is. Now it is. I believe this can happen to the Tampa Bay Rays. I do. And if it does, trust me, that is not good for baseball. It's great for baseball for a couple of reasons. And not just because a team that is having trouble at the gate would suddenly be profitable. All right, let's hear from our good friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money was easier? With Monarch Money, it can be easier. Whether you're growing or planning for making a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. And you can track your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So, in addition to managing your money, you could also start building wealth. And look, one of the things you have in life is sometimes you have too many subscriptions or too many takeouts. You can completely manage those with Monarch Money. And if you have a financial goal like me getting my master's degree, you can put together a plan that can make that something you can afford and not break the proverbial bank. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com. All right, I'm going to drop this here. Normally I have the bumper out, but whatever reason I couldn't click on it. All right. Why is this great news for all baseball fans and not just Tampa Bay fans? I'll tell you why. First of all, baseball is healthiest when the teams are better. When all the teams are in a position where they can field a quality product and at least put their best foot forward, that's good for the whole league. And it forces other teams to keep up with the Joneses. For the Rays, if you suddenly have a team with a packed house and an excited fan base, that will raise the tide for the other teams in the division, other teams in the league. It will also paint a potential roadmap for teams that talk about what are we doing about our attendance, what are we doing with this. Let's take a look at what the Rays did. A lot of it comes from new ownership. New ownership, new lease on life, and they can hopefully by the 2026 season put enough band-aids on Tropicana Field that it could sustain it for a few years while they're building a new ballpark. And then you don't have to be playing in a minor league ballpark. That's just Bush League. It's just terrible for baseball that you have two teams playing in minor league ballparks. You can eliminate one of those situations, and it would make sense to do so. If you were going to make repairs to the Trop so they can play a few years to just move to Orlando, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, I know St. Petersburg will be losing a baseball team, but they won't be leaving the region completely. And once they leave, they can develop that land any way they want. But the other thing, the A's are in a situation, and if you watch Locked On A's, I'm going to make an appearance on that pretty soon. It got pretty heated between Booney and myself there. But the situation in Oakland, I'll say it, the situation in Oakland was terrible, and the ownership did nothing to improve the situation. And now they are stuck in a mystery city that we're not allowed to say. And who knows how long they're going to be in Sacramento, and who knows how long, if and when they'll ever go to Las Vegas. All right, I digress a little bit. But you have those two franchises that they need to figure out what's going to happen. Were the Rays going to move to Montreal? Were they going to move to Orlando? Were they going to move to Charlotte? Were they going to move to Nashville? No, they're staying put. So we got one of the two going to be taken care of. Now comes the A's. Are they really moving to Las Vegas? Are they going to stay in Sacramento? Is the money there for the stadium? Do they even know what the stadium costs? How long are they going to be rotting in Sacramento? I don't know, and neither do you. But the nanosecond we see what's happening, that a move to Vegas becomes real, because it's not real right now. But if it ever becomes real, and mind you, if it does become real, I will do a whole episode where I eat crow and apologize to John Fisher. I would love to do that episode. Do you know why? It would mean the A's situation is solved. And once those two are solved, baseball can look at their expansion. Baseball needs to have another team in the South. They need to have a team in Nashville. Nashville is the most obvious market to put a team. Now, will the White Sox move there? I really hope not. I don't want any team to leave their market. I don't want the White Sox to move from Chicago. They might. I actually think they will, but I don't want them to. If Nashville is taken over by the White Sox, you could put a team in Charlotte. Maybe you could put a team in Montreal. Maybe you could put a team in Portland. But I think the other obvious place to put a team would be with Salt Lake City. But with the renovations going to be happening to the ballpark in Arizona, it's pretty clear that the Diamondbacks are sticking around. With the new sale of this team of the Rays, they're going to be sticking around. Once the A's get fixed and they can do the expansion, this may go a long way to preventing a work stoppage. I'm not saying it would stop it, but I'm saying it would give a big time motivation to not have a work stoppage. Because if you want to have two expansion teams and the expansion fees that they bring about that could offset some of the costs that baseball is crying this, that, or the other thing, you're not going to get the investors in a team in an expansion if you're going to be facing a work stoppage. So if baseball can solve the problem they've been having with these two franchises for well over a decade and a half, baseball has been salivating for an expansion. This is the longest we've gone without an expansion since the original expansion of the 1960s with the Angels and the second Senators team in the American League and Houston and New York in the National League. Since then, this is the longest we've gone without it. The last two teams that we expanded were the Diamondbacks and the Devil Rays, now the Rays. Baseball is dying to go into some of these new markets, dying to get some of that dough, and to get the expansion fees. And they can't do that with the A's and the Rays in flux. And I think this will take the Rays out of flux. Now all that's left are the A's. Are they really building the stadium in Las Vegas? Was that more than just playing in a sandbox? I want it to be so. I want the construction to be on time. I want them to have all the money. Trust has to be earned, and we all know John Fisher hasn't come within 300,000 miles of earning anyone's trust. You don't believe me? Why are they sitting in a minor league ballpark right now? That being said, if that happens, and the sooner that happens, the better, they can expand, and maybe we can dodge this bullet like Keanu Reeves dodging that bullet in The Matrix. Either way, for the bigger picture of baseball, this is phenomenal news. Teams not leaving a fan base. I do not take ripping a team from a fan base lightly. I saw the effects in Oakland last year. I was there in that final day. You can't tell me that that's not a kick to the proverbial fruit stand to fans when you do that, especially Tampa Bay fans who never got the fair shake because they built the stadium in the wrong place. Now they can do it right. Operation Giants Padres could happen in Tampa Bay, and that's good for baseball. That's good for the all-round health of the sport. To not just have them in the right place, but hopefully have the right ownership to do so. And you know what? Good for the Sternbergs for selling when it was clear it's time to sell. Good for them to see, do you know what? Let's cash out and let someone else take care of this. That's good for the game. That's good for Tampa Bay fans. And do you know what? There are a lot of them. No one answered the trivia question, so I'm going to continue with which pitcher had the most starts for Marlin as a Marlins starting pitcher. That is still the trivia question. I want to see those answers. I'm going to be doing a couple of the shows this week, and it's the All-Star game tomorrow. It should be fun. So thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB right here on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Talking about the Home Run Derby and why that's fun, but mainly about the Tampa Bay Rays, a change of ownership, and why that's good for baseball, not just in Central Florida, but for the whole family of Major League Baseball teams. This is Locked On MLB I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.